Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. We're going to be talking about Release the Snyder Cut and Star Wars apparently going on hiatus in this video. But first up, I really want to get into sort of the Release the Snyder Cut movement. And it's not something that I've sort of like bought into fully. Like I fully support those people that want to like support that movement and everything. And the more and more that comes out, the more and more I'm coming around to wanting to really see this movie. And of course, I wanted to see Zack Snyder's vision from the beginning. But like, I don't know, it was just maybe sort of what all goes into the production of a movie that sort of like, I didn't think it was a possibility that this movie or there was a version that would get released. But the amount of stuff that we've gotten, or Zack Snyder or whomever have released over the past 2 years since Justice League came out in theaters, there's been a lot of stuff, and it's just proving more and more that there was a drastically different version of this movie that was in Zack Snyder's edit bay than what we got, what they brought Joss Whedon in and gave us. But Jason Momoa, who's an advocate for the Snyder Cut, and I love Jason Momoa. Aquaman is, you know, as much as like some people have issues with that movie, like it just being a big cheese fest, like I love Aquaman, and Jason Momoa is quite the badass. But they released this photo, Jason Momoa did on his Instagram, of him, of Aquaman impaling Steppenwolf. I think that's his trident there, and you can obviously see Wonder Woman in the background. But this was sort of an alternate sort of ending to the climax in Justice League, where Aquaman impaled Steppenwolf, and Zack Snyder confirmed that it would require a super punch to send Steppenwolf over to Wonder Woman. And in Zack Snyder's original sort of ending to this climactic battle, Wonder Woman was gonna decapitate Steppenwolf, and Steppenwolf's head would then go into that boom tube that we can see behind Wonder Woman, and then Steppenwolf's head would roll to Darkseid feet, and we would see sort of an image of Darkseid, sort of setting up for Justice League 2. And that's way better than what we actually got in Justice League, where Steppenwolf was just sort of taken by the parademons back to Apocalypse, and that was just a really lame ending for Steppenwolf. And just the kind of the whole portrayal of Steppenwolf was really quite poor in my opinion. But it just goes to show that there's a drastically different version out there, and that this movie was sort of just Frankenstein beyond disbelief. And it's really unfortunate, because Justice League should have been like, I don't want to compare it to like Avengers Infinity War or anything, but like it should have felt massive in scale, but like Justice League feels smaller than pretty much every other DCEU movie. Maybe aside from like Suicide Squad or, you know, Shazam, but for the most part, like Justice League feels really small. So I don't know, like I really want to see this movie now. I'm not saying I'm going to go out like on Twitter every day and, you know, hashtag Release the Snyder Cut, but like, man, it's just such a disappointment that like we got gypped out of seeing something truly spectacular and just kind of got like a Frankenstein, like fast food version of the Justice League. But anyway, moving on, I want to talk about Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker and sort of what's going on after that. Now, there's like people making videos about like Bob Iger had his like annual shareholders meeting with his investors, and apparently Star Wars is going on hiatus now. And that was always kind of like in the cards, I would say. Like, we're not really sure where the franchise is going post The Rise of Skywalker. And, you know, after each trilogy, there's been a break, whether it's been, you know, 10 years after the prequels or nearly 20 years for the original trilogy. So it's interesting where the franchise is going to go after The Rise of Skywalker. But I want to play a clip here And it's just Bob Iger kind of giving the rundown to his investors of what's really going on with Star Wars.
While there will continue to be films either in development or in production, there's a lot of activity on the television front. Star Wars has 3 television series. They're in varying forms of production and more in development for Disney+, and Marvel has many more. So while in the Star Wars case, Star Wars 9, which comes out this December, will be the last of the Skywalker saga, and we'll go into a hiatus for a few years before the next Star Wars feature, there'll be a lot of creative activity in the interim.
All right, so it's not like he's saying there's not going to be Star Wars movies forever. He just says a few years, and that was always sort of the case. I mean, they had the next Star Wars movie slated for what, like 2021 or 2022, and with the departure of the Benioff and Weiss guys, the Game of Thrones creators sort of quitting, I guess, or being fired. I'm not really sure at this point, but like, I don't know, like it's not really a big deal to me. Like there's YouTube channels and news outlets that are kind of like blowing this out of proportion, and I think this was always sort of in the cards. It's sort of like a grace period of, a starvation for the fans to sort of build and anticipate for the next sort of iteration of Star Wars. So like, I'm not surprised by this at all. And I don't know, it's just annoying that YouTube channels will take the word hiatus and just blow it way out of proportion. But I don't know, like they say they're working on the creative front of making more Star Wars movies, and it's not like they're not going to be working to develop more. So clearly he's implying that more stuff is on the way. You just have to wait a little bit. And I think that's good. I think while we're waiting for all of this, we're going to be getting these Star Wars TV shows, whether it's The Mandalorian, the Cassian Andor series, or the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And I think that's great. And we can really dive deep into that, and I'm just really looking forward to that, and as well as the next iteration of the Star Wars movies, whether it be Kevin Feige's version of Star Wars, whatever that will be. I'm not really sure if it's just a standalone, or it could maybe play more into a trilogy or a series of films. I'm not really sure, but guys, let me know what you think of all this, whether you support the Release the Snyder Cut movement, what you thought of this this photo of Jason Momoa as Aquaman impaling Steppenwolf, this sort of like alternate ending, as well as this sort of like Star Wars going on hiatus, if you really think that's the case, or if you're sort of like me where you always sort of thought that was in the cards. But if you guys have any other ideas or topics for videos for me to make, let me know down below in the comment section. Make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next video.